Welcome to the week, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have the pleasure of sitting down with the Executive Director of Dashville LaGrange and a good friend, I might add, Nate Crawford. Nate, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Alton.
Well, it's a pleasure to sit down with you, man. And I say a friend of mine, I think I met you when you graduated from LaGrange College.
Yep.
Or you were in the process of getting ready to graduate. And I think we went out and we were riding for some reason or another and just had a great connection, I think.
Yeah.
And here you are now, the Executive Director for Dashville LaGrange, an organization that is doing a lot of wonderful things here in our community. That's contributed to the previous Executive Directors and yourself. But before we get into that, Nate, tell everybody just a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So I am born and raised in Thomaston, Georgia, and I came to LaGrange in 2010 for school, which makes me feel really old now. I'm 30, which is mind-boggling to me. I've been in LaGrange for 12 years.
Okay.
I'm not a native yet. I think you have to be born here to be a native. But one day, maybe they'll consider me a native.
There you go.
But I went to LaGrange College and studied there. Got my undergrad and master's from there, and really loved LaGrange and fell in love with the city and decided to stay. And so now here I am working in housing here in LaGrange.
There you go. And you know, and not only do you love LaGrange, I think you have talked to your parents so much about LaGrange that I think they may be moving to LaGrange. Is that fair?
They are, absolutely. They have purchased a home here and they are working on renovating it. Okay. And that process has actually really started yesterday with some landscaping things that are going on. And so we're excited to have them here.
I bet so.
They're close by, but not too close, which is a good thing.
Right. Because I know that, you know, being a grandparent, there's nothing like having a grandchild around, because I know that a couple of weeks ago you and your wife welcomed your your son here. It was 2 weeks old, a week ago.
Yep. Okay,
so I know that they're very excited about that.
They are.
Very good, very good. And I'm sure he'll be spoiled just like your daughter.
Yes.
No doubt. Well, Nate, I know Dash has been around now for a number of years. Like I say, I remember back some of the previous executive directors, not to start naming anybody because I'll leave some of them out. But now you're there at the helm, and there's a lot of things that's going on with Dash that sometimes people may not necessarily realize. But before we talk about those, let's just talk about people that, you know, because I still get calls from time to time about, are there any funding available for me to do minor repairs to my house? Talk about some of the things and how you all have helped with those projects over the years.
For sure. So Dash has worked, I would say, pretty extensively with the state of Georgia and the Georgia Department of Community Affairs with grants. And those grants have allowed us in the past to do rehab work on houses. I don't know our total number of houses that we have worked on individually for rehab, but it's been pretty significant. That grant program, we have no longer applied for that grant program. The most recent one we did with them was a CHIP grant, but it was for new construction. And again, there's a balance of maintaining your housing stock through rehabs and also building new housing stock to fill in the gap for anything that's lost through attrition. So that's kind of where we are now. So we're not actively pursuing those grants, but we are actively pursuing state grants for new construction.
Very good. And you know, and one of the things too, a lot of times people don't quite understand, with us being a non-entitlement city, you have to compete for those funds that you get. So talk about that and the difficulties for that.
Absolutely. So we have a great staff, and very thankful for our staff and the work that they put in. And thankfully, we have Sam Craig on our staff, who is wonderful at writing grants. And he has written our last several grants. One of those, or actually two of those, being to the state of Georgia. And we're actually in competition right now for a $4 million grant that we've asked for to build workforce housing for 65% AMI, really adjacent to the hospital, which could potentially serve the workforce at the hospital that's making that lower income, and help those workers have a walkable space to get to the hospital. Absolutely.
And you know, when you talk about workforce housing, it's so important because as we see the market, you know, with the fluctuation in the market and, you know, house pricing, and I know you know this very well, it sometimes can be kind of difficult. And I always used to say you don't want to have a person house poor, where, you know, more the income is going towards housing, coupled with all the other things, and you're pretty much cash strapped there in a lot of cases. So when you talk about that AMI, not to get in deep in the weeds, but talk about that just a little bit if you don't mind.
So the area median income, and I'll probably get this number wrong, I believe it's $69,900 for Troup County as a whole.
Okay.
And that's where the state bases their numbers off of. So 80% of that is, a certain threshold number.
Right.
And that's how we're looking at housing affordability. And that's one way that we're able to gauge it. And so then we're able to get our percentages off of that to determine what makes a house affordable.
Okay, very good. So if anybody wanted to know more, because I know that once upon a time Dash offered classes on these various things, can they still reach out to you all?
We're not offering in-house classes for home ownership, first-time home ownership courses. The state offers one, or there's one that's state approved that you could also take to your lender. Potentially if you're looking to buy a house that's through the state. But those are about $100 a course, and they go through all different aspects of first-time home ownership.
Okay, very good, very good. And I know the things that you all have doing and will do in the community, particularly there in the Hillside area, have not been done alone. And you all have formed some wonderful partnerships to make some of these things come to fruition. Talk a little bit about those partnerships and the importance of them.
Oh, absolutely. And again, like you said earlier, I'll leave somebody out if I start naming names, but I mean, the city has been a tremendous partner of ours over the years. And that is evidence in, one, direct partnership with us, but also wise decisions that you all are making. And that's through the new zoning code. That's a great thing to have by just a simple investment of streetscape. Like, that's a significant thing for Hillside. So that's been great. The partnership we have with the county. Local residents. Local residents still pop into our office and ask for help on things, or just stop in to say hello. And those are key relationships to build within a neighborhood and within a city.
Absolutely. And over the years, I remember you all, the community gardens. I remember the community outreach person, and he happened to live on my mother's street, and he knew everybody along the route there and stuff. Those things are very important. And I know that you all have a festival each year in the area there where residents come out. You have the food trucks and all the various vendors and stuff. So it's a great time, a great opportunity. And which leads me up to my next, line of questioning. With all those things happening, you guys are doing some major renovations and a redevelopment along the Lincoln Street area. Talk about that and where that's taking Dash.
For sure. So that's an exciting project, and a lot of the things you've mentioned, neighborhood engagement and first-time home buyer courses. Dash is kind of in a transition phase right now. We've cut back on some of our staffing in-house, and are able to outsource some of those other things that you've mentioned. And so we're really looking more toward Dash as being really a real estate developer, a CDC, if you will, a community development corporation, and investing in neighborhoods that are potentially lower income census tracts or traditionally disinvested neighborhoods. And so the project that you're referencing on Lincoln Street is a commercial building, a little over 7,000 square feet. It was built in 1935. It was built by Ivy and Crook Architects, so some history there for you. Really cool. And they've built some other buildings around LaGrange as well, worked heavily with the Callaway family. But we're excited about this. So we have potentially some restaurants, an ice cream place, a bakery, a real grocery store, and a retail space coming back to Hillside. And we're really excited about that investment.
Wow. And that project is underway as we speak.
It is underway right now. The biggest change you'll probably see right now is the exterior has been soda blasted. So we went back to the original brick, and we think it's important to maintain the historical integrity of this building. And so we got rid of all the exterior paint on the front. So it makes a big difference.
Years and years of paint over
Absolutely,
the brick,
yeah.
Right? Absolutely. Now you mentioned a grocery store, ice cream, and some. Can you name some of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So Rock Salt Milk Bar is out of Noonan. And we kind of came out very serendipitously. We had been talking with one of their, I guess, partners, if you will, who's across the street from them in Noonan, the Oink Joint Barbecue Restaurant. And so we have Oink Joint Barbecue Restaurant, Rock Salt Milk Bar. We're working with a bakery right now. The grocery store will be Old Town Provisions out of Columbus. And then we have the Home and Thread Thriftique, which is Vanessa Looney, who works in our office as well. And she's sourcing all sorts of great finds and great interior design pieces from estate sales. Okay, very good. And one of the things that I really like about your vision, and I know it's just the vision that's been carried over from previous administration, is the diversity of the area. How important is that for Dash and for you? It's tremendously important. You can't build a neighborhood with one select group of people. And so whether that's race, whether that's income, whether that's religion or creed, whatever it might be, you need a diversity of thought in a neighborhood. And that creates a thriving place to be. And so traditionally, Hillside, as you're aware, was a place that was segregated. And so if you were African American, it was not a place that you shopped or not a place that you spent time. And so we want to make sure with this development that we are creating a place where everybody feels welcome, and that we are creating businesses that all people want to patronize. And so we think that by the balance that we have 2 African American business owners coming to Hillside. Let's see, two women-owned businesses. So we want a lot of diversity there, and so it's very important to us.
Very good. And with all the my tenure with Dash, when I was there, the previous EDs and everything of that nature, everyone had their goals and their objectives and various things of that nature. And I was telling you before we came on, a lot of them were building for that time. At that time, when it first started out, there was a large rental population in that area. The goal was to help make people homeowners, so funding was utilized for that. But what you're doing now, and I was saying before we came on, you're building for that next generation. You're building it for your son and your daughter. Talk about how important that is for you.
So I think of the commercial building we're working on now. It was built in 1935. And that building has served its purpose then, and it will serve its purpose again through this revitalization. And so even the housing that we're building now, we want to make sure that it's a quality construction and that it's going to last. And we want to design neighborhoods that are walkable and safe, and where people can spend their money locally and invest in their community. And so these are long-term investments, and we often have to think very long-term on these. And so it is a significant thing to think about where my kids will be living or grandkids will be living, and how will these neighborhoods feel.
Very good. And when I think about all the things that's going on, when you talk about the grocery store and all the very rock salt milk bar, the Oink Joint, I've been to the Oink Joint there in Noonan, but I haven't been to the rock salt milk bar yet. And it's good to see those businesses coming back here, because a lot of people may not realize, but we used to have 2 locations here in LaGrange that left and moved to Noonan. And they're next door to each other up in Noonan, as a matter of fact. So we're glad to see that these restaurants have made the decision to come here to LaGrange, and I know that's attributed to you and your team of folks thinking outside the box and wanting to have that diversity and wanting to offer various other venues that people can frequent.
Absolutely.
So I just want to, at this time, Nate, I want to thank you very much for what you're doing in our community. Thank you for being my guest here on
Thank you for having
City
me.
Week this week, too.